May 2nd, 1970. Mekong Delta, South Vietnam. The water was everywhere, in the rice paddies, in the canals, in the air itself, humidity so thick it felt like breathing through wet cloth. The kind of humidity that made your uniform stick to your skin, made every breath feel like work, made you wonder if you'd ever be dry again. Sergeant Leonard B. Keller, 23 years old, farm kid from Illinois, who'd never seen an ocean until the army shipped him to Vietnam, crouched behind a dike and watched his platoon walk into an ambush. They were spread out in a line, 37 men moving through flooded rice paddies toward a tree line that intelligence said was clear. Standard patrol. Routine. They'd done this 100 times before. Walk to the village, check for VC activity, walk back. By the book. Safe. Intelligence was wrong. The first burst of machine gun fire cut down 3 men before anyone could react. Keller saw them go down, saw the water around them turn red, saw their bodies floating face down in the paddy. Then the world exploded. Automatic weapons from 7 positions, interlocking fields of fire, muzzle flashes rippling along the tree line like strobe lights. The platoon went down, some diving for cover, some hit before they could move, some just standing there in shock as bullets churned the water around them into foam. The sound was overwhelming, not like the movies. Louder, more chaotic. Individual shots blending into one continuous roar. Keller hit the mud behind the dike, car 15 up, scanning for targets. His training kicked in, muscle memory taking over. Assessed the situation, identify the threat, return fire. He could see the bunkers now, 7 of them, camouflaged with vegetation and mud, firing ports cut at ground level. Viet Cong, well-trained, well-positioned. They'd waited until the platoon was in the open, maximum exposure, no cover, nowhere to run. Classic ambush, textbook kill zone. The kind they taught at Fort Benning as an example of how to destroy an enemy force. The radio operator next to him took a round through the throat. The kid was 19 from Texas, always talking about his girlfriend back home. He went down without a sound, eyes wide with surprise, blood pumping from the wound in rhythm with his heartbeat. 3 pumps. 4. Then nothing. His body slumped into the water. Keller grabbed the radio handset from his body, keyed it. Contact. Heavy contact. 7 bunkers. Tree line north. We need support now. The lieutenant was already on his radio, voice high and tight with stress, calling for artillery support, for air support, for anything. But artillery would take 10 minutes to coordinate fire missions. Air support, 20 minutes, maybe more if they were supporting other units. The platoon didn't have 10 minutes. They had maybe 2 before the VC decided to leave their bunkers and overrun the position, finishing off the wounded, executing the survivors. That's how the VC operated. No prisoners, no mercy. Keller looked at the bunkers again, counting them, memorizing their positions. 7. Spread out along the tree line in a rough semicircle, each one positioned to support the others. Good tactics. Professional. These weren't farmers with rifles. These were trained soldiers who knew what they were doing. Maybe 15 to 20 VC total. The platoon had 37 men, but half were pinned down, unable to return effective fire. The others were wounded or dead. The math wasn't good. Someone had to take out those bunkers. Someone had to move. Someone had to break the stalemate before the VC maneuvered for a better position, or brought up mortars, or did any of the 100 things that would turn this ambush into a massacre. Keller looked left and right. Nobody was moving. Everyone was frozen, hugging the ground, pressing themselves into the mud, hoping not to die. He understood. He felt the same fear, the same paralysis, the same overwhelming desire to stay down and let someone else handle it. But understanding fear and accepting it were different things. His hands were shaking. He noticed that. Noticed the way his fingers trembled as he checked his grenades. 6 of them on his harness. He'd complained about carrying them this morning, said they were too heavy, said he'd rather have more ammunition. Now he was grateful for every ounce of weight. 6 grenades, 7 bunkers. He'd have to make them count. He rose to a crouch, legs shaking, adrenaline flooding his system like ice water in his veins. His heart was hammering so hard he could feel it in his throat. His mouth was dry, tongue stuck to the roof of his mouth. He tried to swallow. Couldn't. "Covering fire, on my mark." His voice sounded strange, too loud. Someone else's voice, like he was listening to himself from outside his body. He didn't wait to see if anyone listened. He ran. The first bunker was 30 meters away, 30 meters of open rice paddy, water 6 inches deep, no cover, no concealment, just mud and water and bullets. Keller ran in a zigzag, changing direction every 3 steps like they taught him in basic training, making himself a harder target. It felt stupid. It felt like it wouldn't work. But it was all he had. Rounds snapped past his head, supersonic cracks that sounded like whips, like someone snapping a towel next to his ear. Water geysered around his feet, little fountains erupting where bullets hit. He didn't think. Thinking would slow him down. Thinking would make him realize how insane this was. Thinking would get him killed. 20 meters. 15. Time slowed down, the way people always said it did in combat. He could see individual drops of water hanging in the air. Could see the muzzle flash from the bunker, bright orange, pulsing. Could see the barrel of the machine gun tracking toward him, swinging left to follow his movement. He pulled a grenade from his harness, yanked the pin with his teeth like they taught him in training. Threw it. The grenade tumbled through the air, end over end, dropped through the firing port. Perfect throw. He hit the ground, covered his head. 2 seconds. 3. The bunker erupted, dirt and vegetation and pieces of things flying outward. The pressure wave hit him, squeezed his chest, made his ears pop. The machine gun went silent. Keller didn't wait to see if anyone was still alive inside. He was already turning toward the second bunker, 20 meters to his right. The VC inside had seen what happened to the first bunker. They were ready, machine gun already tracking toward him. They opened fire before he started moving. Smart. Disciplined. Keller dove, hit the mud, rolled, came up running at a different angle. The machine gun tracked him, walking fire through the water, trying to lead him, trying to anticipate his movement. He changed direction. The rounds passed behind him. He pulled another grenade, threw it while running. Bad throw. It bounced off the bunker roof, rolled down the side. Shit. He hit the ground, covered his head. The grenade detonated. The bunker collapsed inward, logs and earth caving in, burying whoever was inside. Keller heard screaming from inside, muffled, getting weaker. Then silence. 2 down, 5 to go, 4 grenades left. His platoon was firing now, suppressive fire, giving him cover. He could hear the lieutenant shouting, coordinating fire, directing men to shoot at the remaining bunkers. M16 cracking, M60 machine guns hammering. It wasn't enough. The VC were dug in too well, protected by logs and earth and sandbags. But it gave Keller seconds. Precious seconds to move, to close the distance, to get to the next bunker. The third bunker was 40 meters away, positioned on higher ground, overlooking the entire kill zone. Best position. Best field of fire. The VC inside had a clear shot at Keller. They took it. The machine gun opened up, steady, controlled bursts, 3 to 5 rounds each, conserving ammunition, making every bullet count. Professional. Keller ran toward it, not away. Running toward the gun, it was insane. It violated every instinct, every survival mechanism built into the human brain. But it was the only option. The closer he got, the harder it was for them to track him, the narrower their field of fire became, the more the bunker's own structure limited their ability to aim. He zigzagged, changed speed, dropped, rose, moved unpredictably. A round grazed his shoulder, tearing through his uniform, burning like someone had pressed a hot iron against his skin. He felt the impact, felt the heat, kept running. Another round hit his helmet, knocked it sideways, rang his bell, left his ears ringing like church bells. The helmet strap cut into his chin, nearly choked him. He kept running, one hand holding the helmet on, the other pulling a grenade. 10 meters from the bunker, he threw it. The throw was off, adrenaline making his arm jerky. The grenade fell short, detonated in front of the firing port, dirt and shrapnel peppering the opening. The machine gun stopped. Keller didn't know if he'd killed them or just stunned them or if the gun had jammed. Didn't matter. He was already moving toward the 4th bunker, legs pumping, lungs burning, body running on adrenaline and fear and something else he couldn't name. This one was different, reinforced. He could see it as he approached. More sandbags, thicker logs. The firing port was smaller, harder to hit with a grenade, and the VC inside were smart. They weren't firing continuously like the others. They were waiting, conserving ammunition, picking targets. Keller saw a soldier from his platoon try to move, try to low crawl to a better position. The machine gun barked once. Single shot. The soldier went down, didn't move again. Single shots, precise, professional. These weren't conscripts. These were experienced fighters. Keller approached from the side, staying low, using what little cover the terrain offered. A slight depression in the ground, maybe 6 inches deep. A dead tree, trunk blown apart by some previous battle. Anything. Everything. He crawled part of the way, moved in short rushes, 3 seconds of movement, then freeze. The VC inside was scanning, looking for him, knowing he was coming. He got within 15 meters before they saw him. The gun swung toward him, fast, too fast. He threw a grenade, didn't wait to see if it hit, threw another one immediately after, emptying his harness. The first grenade bounced off the bunker, detonated in the air. The second one went through the firing port. Lucky throw. Perfect throw. The explosion was muffled, contained within the bunker. Smoke poured from the firing port, thick and black. The machine gun went silent. Keller heard screaming inside, high-pitched, agonized. Then nothing. 4 down. 3 to go. 0 grenades left. Keller's hands were shaking now, worse than before. Adrenaline crash starting, body realizing what he'd been doing, what he was still doing. His legs felt weak, muscles trembling. His body wanted to stop, wanted to lie down in the mud and let someone else finish this. Let someone else be the hero. He had no grenades left. 3 bunkers still firing. The math was simple. The execution wasn't. The 5th bunker was positioned to cover the 4th. Mutual support. The VC had built these positions carefully, each one protecting the others, interlocking fields of fire, no dead zones. As soon as Keller moved from the 4th bunker, the 5th bunker opened fire. He hit the ground, rounds passing over his head so close he felt the pressure wave, felt the heat. The machine gun kept firing, long bursts, chewing up the dike he was hiding behind, dirt raining down on him, getting in his eyes, his mouth. He crawled forward, inches at a time, using a rice paddy dike for cover. The dike was maybe a foot high, built up over years by farmers, hardened mud and rice straw. It was disintegrating under the machine gun fire, getting lower with every burst. Soon, there'd be nothing left. He crawled faster, elbows and knees, rifle dragging in the mud. He reached the end of the dike. No more cover. 20 meters of open ground between him and the bunker. If he stood up, he was dead. The machine gun would cut him in half. If he stayed here, the platoon was dead. The VC would maneuver, would flank them, would finish them off. He looked back. Men were still down, wounded, bleeding into the rice paddy water. The lieutenant was trying to organize a flanking maneuver, but there was nowhere to flank. The VC had them surrounded on 3 sides, the river at their backs. Keller stood up. The machine gun swung toward him, barrel tracking. He ran, straight at it, no zigzag, no evasion, just a straight sprint. Faster than the gunner could track, faster than his own fear. He was screaming, he realized, screaming at the top of his lungs, wordless sound, rage and terror mixed together. He pulled his last grenade. No, he was out of grenades. He shouted back toward his platoon. "Grenade! I need a grenade!" A soldier threw one. It landed in the water 5 meters short. Keller grabbed it, didn't break stride, turned back toward the bunker. The machine gun opened up. Close range now, impossible to miss. He felt something hit his leg, felt it go numb, felt himself stumbling. He didn't fall, couldn't fall. Falling meant dying. He pulled the pin, threw the grenade with everything he had left. It arced through the air, dropped through the firing port. The bunker exploded, roof lifting up, logs flying. 5 down, 2 to go. Keller's leg was bleeding. He could see it now, dark stains spreading down his pants. The round had gone through his calf, in and out, missing the bone by maybe an inch. Lucky. If it had hit bone, he'd be done. He could still walk, barely. He limped toward the 6th bunker, dragging his wounded leg, leaving a trail of blood in the water. The 6th bunker was 50 meters away, positioned to cover the approach from the river. The VC inside had been firing at the platoon's left flank. Now they turned their attention to Keller. He could see the barrels swinging toward him, could see the gunner adjusting his aim, could see the assistant gunner feeding in a fresh belt of ammunition. He had no grenades. His rifle had maybe 20 rounds left. His leg was bleeding. This was it. This was as far as he was going to get. He ran anyway. What else was there to do? The machine gun opened up. He felt something hit his side, felt ribs crack, felt air leave his lungs. Body armor stopped the round, but the impact still broke ribs. He stumbled, caught himself, kept moving. A soldier from his platoon threw another grenade. It landed at Keller's feet. He grabbed it, pulled the pin, threw it all in one motion. The grenade went through the firing port. The bunker exploded. 6 down, 1 to go. Keller could barely breathe. Broken ribs. Every breath felt like knives in his chest. His leg was numb, dragging, blood in his mouth, coppery taste. He was done. Finished. But there was still one bunker left. The 7th bunker was the command position, larger than the others, reinforced with sandbags and logs, 2 firing ports instead of 1. The VC commander was inside, directing the defense, coordinating fire. As Keller limped toward it, both machine guns opened up, interlocking fire. No way through, no way around. He dropped behind a small rise in the ground, maybe 8 inches of cover. Bullets tore through the earth above his head, showering him with dirt. He was pinned. Out of grenades, wounded, 50 meters from the bunker with no way to close the distance. He'd taken out 6 bunkers, 6 out of 7. It wasn't enough. That last bunker could still kill half his platoon, could still turn this into a defeat. He looked at his rifle, 30 rounds in the magazine. He looked at the bunker, 2 firing ports. He did the math. It was stupid. It wouldn't work. He did it anyway. Keller stood up, limped forward, firing his rifle on full auto. 30 rounds in 3 seconds, spraying both firing ports, not aiming, just suppressing, making them duck, buying seconds. The magazine ran dry. He dropped it, slammed in a new one, kept walking, kept firing. The machine guns were silent, the gunners taking cover from the incoming fire. 20 meters. 15. He emptied the 2nd magazine, loaded the 3rd, his last one. 10 meters. He could see movement inside the bunker, could see the gunners getting back on their weapons, could see hands reaching for triggers. He fired the last magazine, walking forward, limping, bleeding, firing until the bolt locked back on an empty chamber. 5 meters. The machine guns were coming back up, barrels swinging toward him. Keller threw his empty rifle at the nearest firing port, drew his knife, a K-bar, 7 inches of steel, and jumped onto the bunker roof. The logs groaned under his weight, cracked. He found the entrance, a small opening in the back, covered with a poncho to keep out rain. He ripped it aside, dropped inside. 3 VC, cramped space, maybe 6 feet square. 2 on the machine guns, 1 with a radio, talking rapidly in Vietnamese. They turned, shocked, reaching for pistols. Keller was faster. The knife went into the first man's throat, severed the carotid. Blood sprayed. He pulled it out, stabbed the second man in the chest, felt the blade scrape ribs, felt it sink in. The third man got his pistol up, fired. The round hit Keller in the side, punched through his flak jacket, cracked another rib. He felt it like a hammer blow, felt the air leave his lungs, felt his vision go gray. He lunged forward, tackled the man, stabbed him twice, 3 times, 4 times, until he stopped moving, until they all stopped moving. Silence. Sudden. Overwhelming. His ears were ringing, everything muffled. Keller lay on top of the dead VC, gasping, trying to breathe through the pain in his side, the pain in his leg, the pain everywhere. Blood everywhere. His blood. Their blood. He couldn't tell anymore. Everything was red. He crawled toward the entrance, pulled himself out, collapsed on the bunker roof. 7 bunkers. All silent. The shooting had stopped. He could hear voices now, American voices. His platoon advancing, securing the position. Someone was shouting his name. He tried to answer. Couldn't. His throat was too dry. His lungs weren't working right. Medics were running toward him, shouting. He could see the lieutenant, see his mouth moving, couldn't hear the words. Everything was distant, muffled, like he was underwater. Someone rolled him onto a stretcher. Someone was cutting his uniform, checking wounds, hands everywhere, probing, pressing. Pain flaring every time they touched him. Someone was starting an IV, needle in his arm. The lieutenant's face appeared above him, close, concerned. Keller, can you hear me? Keller nodded. Tried to speak. Couldn't. The lieutenant pressed a canteen to his lips. Water. Warm. Tasting like plastic and iodine tablets. The best thing Keller had ever tasted. He drank, coughed, drank more. How many did I get? His voice was a whisper, throat raw from shouting, from breathing cordite smoke. All of them. You got all 7 bunkers. Saved the whole platoon. Good. Keller closed his eyes. The medics were loading him onto a helicopter. He could hear the rotors now, feel the downdraft, feel the stretcher lifting. Someone was holding his hand, squeezing it. He squeezed back. Then everything went dark. He woke up 3 days later in a hospital in Saigon. Leg bandaged, side bandaged, shoulder bandaged, head bandaged. He looked like a mummy, wrapped in white gauze. A nurse told him he'd been in surgery for 6 hours. Told him he'd lost a lot of blood. Told him he was lucky to be alive. Keller didn't feel lucky. He felt like he'd been hit by a truck. The lieutenant visited a week later. Brought the platoon with him, 34 men. 3 had died in the ambush before Keller took out the bunkers. 34 men who would have died if Keller hadn't moved, hadn't acted, hadn't done something impossibly brave and impossibly stupid. They stood around his bed, silent, awkward, not knowing what to say. Finally, one of them spoke. Thanks, Sarge. That's all. Just thanks. The others nodded. Then they left, filing out quietly. The Medal of Honor came later, a ceremony in the hospital. Keller in a wheelchair, still bandaged, still healing. A general read the citation, actions above and beyond the call of duty. Conspicuous gallantry, 7 enemy bunkers destroyed. Platoon saved from certain annihilation. Keller listened, didn't recognize the person being described. That person sounded like a hero, like someone from a movie. Keller didn't feel like a hero. He felt like a guy who'd done what needed doing because nobody else was doing it. A reporter asked him later why he'd charged the bunkers, why he hadn't waited for artillery or air support, why he'd risked his life like that. Keller looked at him, confused by the question. My guys were dying. Someone had to do something. The reporter waited for more, pen poised over notepad. There wasn't more. That was the whole answer. That was all there was. May 2nd, 1970. Mekong Delta. One sergeant charged 7 bunkers and saved 34 men. He did it with grenades and a rifle and a knife and a refusal to watch his friends die. He did it because someone had to. He did it because waiting meant death. He did it because the alternative was unacceptable. Leonard B. Keller survived his wounds, returned to duty, finished his tour. He left the army in 1972, went home to Illinois, worked construction, raised a family. He didn't talk about Vietnam much, didn't wear his Medal of Honor except at official ceremonies, didn't think what he'd done was special. Just a job, just what needed doing, just what anyone would have done. The 34 men he saved thought differently. They stayed in contact, called him every year on May 2nd, the anniversary of the ambush. Every year for 40 years, until Keller died in 2010 at age 63, heart attack, quick and painless. At his funeral, 31 of them showed up. 3 had died over the years, 31 men, old now, gray-haired, some in wheelchairs, some with canes, some with oxygen tanks. They stood by his grave and saluted, because some debts can never be repaid, only honored. 7 bunkers, 34 lives. One man who understood that heroism isn't about fearlessness. It's about being terrified and moving anyway because the alternative is watching people die. It's about doing what needs to be done when no one else will do it. It's about refusing to accept the unacceptable.